What inspired this practice was a quote from Marcus Aurelius. He said, "What stands in the way becomes the way." So it is in yoga. When we feel like something in our physical body is not working well, we address it in our practice. And thanks to my good friend Mari, who explained to me what she was doing for her SI joint, we came up with this practice. Let's get right to it. Come to a standing position. If you've got blocks, if you have a strap, and you might even need a blanket today. So have those at your side to assist you in these poses. As you come to a standing position, grab your blocks and come to the top of the mat. And as you come to the top of the mat, cross your right thigh over your left. And as you do, see about taking your feet just a little bit wider apart. With your hands to your low back, hug your elbows in, bend your knees just slightly as you draw down. Now, as you do, you might be able to feel the sides of the legs here. The IT band is affected in this action. If the blocks are close enough to you, just take your fingers to the tall blocks. If not, bend your knees slightly, but try to keep the spine in its elongated fashion rather than rounding to come a little bit deeper. And as you just draw your heart down toward the earth, maybe you can even scoot your feet just slightly farther away from each other with the knees slightly bent, with the inner thighs drawing back. You just get a nice engagement here. So even though the feet are stepping further away from each other, they're still hugging in toward the midline, this isometric action of drawing in as you draw down. Just have a nice in breath and out breath through the nose as you come to this forward fold. And you might notice this outer hip area. Slowly lift yourself up. So if you can, bend your knees to lift up. And we'll come to the opposite side in just a moment. But before we do, in the standing position, reach your right leg out to the side. Have your left leg really firmly planted. With your right foot out to the side, lift up the right foot and draw it down. So the standing left leg is very engaged as you lift up and draw down, and you lift up and you draw down. The same thing is if you were lying on your side doing this, but this tends to engage the standing legs so much more. Lift up and draw down, and two more. Lift up and draw down, and one more. This strengthens the AB abductors, and release your right leg. Take the left leg out. Just pause on the tiptoes of the left foot. Keep your right leg very engaged and inhale, lift the foot up. Exhale, draw down. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift up and down. And two more. And as you're moving the leg, you're just trying to have this engagement where you're drawing in from the spread toes to the pelvis to lift up and down. And let's do that one more time. Lift up and down. Let's come to the front of the mat if you're not already there, and cross your left leg in front of your right as you step wide. Just go a little bit broader here in your stance. Hug the midline with your feet. Draw yourself down to the forward fold. Just allow yourself to soften down. And as you do, you keep the legs very active. They're pulling in toward each other. You're pressing down through the base of the big toe as you come to the forward fold. You're pulling into the midline with the feet. And you breathe in and breathe out. You have a nice softness to the facial muscles, a nice lifting quality to the shoulders. And with the feet engaged, with the feet in this parallel position, parallel to the edges of the mat, you're still pulling in nicely. From here, bend your knees slightly, which is very awkward when the legs are crossed like this, but lift yourself up to try to keep a nice elongation of the spine. And we'll do just a few more repetitions of those abduction of the legs here. As you reach your right leg to the side, lift it up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down. Other side. From tiptoe position with your left foot with a nice engaged right leg, up and down, up and down, up and down, and up and down, and up and down. Very nice. Come to the front of the mat if you're not already there, with your feet parallel to each other, with your arms to your side, and with your fingers stretching. Get a nice openness of the chest, and on the in-breath, reach your arms up and slightly back. On the exhale breath, bend both knees to take your hands alongside your ankles. Step your right leg back. Step your left leg back to a plank position. Hold your plank position and slowly take yourself down to the mat. So when you arrive at the mat, reach your hands back with the palms facing down. With the palms facing down, bend your elbows so you can really press the fingertips down, the full handprint down. Inhale, lift your right leg up, and exhale, take the right leg down. Inhale, left leg lifts and down. Inhale, both legs lift and down. Again, inhale, both legs lift and down. Let's do that a few more cycles here. Inhale, lift both legs. Exhale, bring them down. Inhale, lift both legs. Exhale, soften. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, down. One more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, down. Now, with your hands reaching back, this time with the hands off the floor. Inhale, lift your feet up. Keep your hands lifted. Exhale, down. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, down. One more. Inhale, lift up, and exhale, come down. Come to either downward facing dog or child's pose to pause here as you take your attention to your breath. As you draw your awareness to the back side of the body. See how your breath can expand the backside even more fully. And as you breathe in and out through the nose, keep the full engagement of the fingers, the tops of the fingers, the full engagement of the legs, where the legs are pulling in toward one another. even as they draw from the toes all the way to the pelvis to get nice tone in the muscles of the legs. If you're in downward facing dog, if you're in child's pose, keep your arms forward, keep a nice lift of the shoulders. And as you're ready, let's all meet at the front of the mat. So make your way there. Place your hands to your low back and rise up. Let's come, if you've got a wall by you, you can use it. But we do this pose, utkatasana, this chair pose, a lot. And so you can do it on your mat, or if you'd like to be at a wall, it might serve you if you want to go a little bit deeper with the use of the wall. Your choice. With your feet hip distance apart, with your knees drawing forward, the thighs drawing back. Now, just to get in this form, this alignment of utkatasana, the knees do draw forward, but see if you can take, now that the pelvis is back, see if you can take your knees back as well. Of course, your pelvis goes back a little bit more. And inhale, lift your arms up. Take your gaze right between your hands. Keep the strong engagement in utkatasana as you step your right foot back. So as you step your right foot back to come to a lunge, you have to stay balanced in the action. You come to this crescent lunge with the heart brightly shining, with your fingers reaching back. And now step the back foot forward to come back to the chair pose that we were in. Look at your knees and see if you can train them to come back more. Drop yourself a little bit lower in the pose with the legs hugging in toward the midline. Inhale and rise up. Exhale, lower yourself down in the forward fold to place your hands right alongside your ankles. Step your left leg back, then your right leg back. Come to a plank position and lower yourself to the mat. Reach your hands back with the palms pressing on the floor to begin. Pull the hands in toward your heart. On the in-breath, lift your feet up. Exhale, take the feet down. 3 more. Inhale, feet lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift. Exhale, down. Inhale, lift your hands as well. Just come to this full salambhasana, this nice engaged action of the arms and the legs. Release your hands down to the mat. Come to either downward facing dog or child's pose again. And again, pause there. Just come to know the breath. Come to know after a few repetitions of these actions, come to know your body and how the breath and these idiosyncratic aspects of the bodies give you more data. How they tell you so much more about yourself and how that enhances your practice. And walk your way to the front of the mat. Place your hands to the low back and rise up. We'll do that utkatasana pose again. And as you bend your knees, as you take the tops of the thighs back, as you reach your arms up, just refine your chair pose again with the legs really active. Can you keep that action as you step the left leg back to come to a nice strong crescent pose? Take your hands wider apart. Get this nice lift of the heart. Nice openness of the upper chest. Step your back foot forward. Come back to the chair pose we were in. Maybe you can drop yourself down a little bit more and root down to lift yourself up and back and release your hands. So now step wide. And as you step wide, place your hands to your hips and draw your right toes out. Bend your right knee and inhale, lift your arms up. Just get this nice fullness here in the pose. Pull in from the front foot to the back foot. Now take your arms behind you, interlace your fingers, and press your knuckles to the low back as you draw your heart toward the right inner knee. Just soften down. Allow the strength of the back leg to just take you a little bit deeper in your pose. If you'd like to lift your interlaced fingers up off your back, feel free to do that. Place your hands back to your low back and press your flesh down to the earth to inhale and rise up. Let's come to the opposite side. So turn your left toes out, bend your knee, have a nice line up of the knee right over the ankle, and inhale, sweep your arms up, get this nice strength in the pose. And exhale with your fingers interlaced behind your back. Draw your heart down toward your inner knee. If you'd like to lift your interlaced fingers up, feel free to do that. Keep softening down. Place your hands to your low back and inhale. Lift yourself up out of the pose. Very nice. Step your feet hip distance apart. So we've got strength in our legs, and now let's get length in our quads. You can be near a wall or a chair if you wish, because more than anything, we just want to spend a little time in this pose of stretching the quads. So as you stand very firmly on your left leg, get lightness in your right leg. And as you're ready, you can lift the right leg up and just find a way to either hold on to the shin or the ankle and give yourself a nice stretch here from the pelvis to the knee. Just get this nice length. Now you can go into the full pose. You can work your arm, your left arm, and come into a beautiful Natarajasana if you'd like, or just stay in the thigh stretch with one hand to the chair or the wall. And let's see if we can just stay here for several more breaths so that, if the quad stands in the way of fullness here in the action, let it become the way that you open up the front side of the body more fully. That just a simple stretch of the quad just allows for this nice opening of the chest. And release your foot down and pause. Chances are that standing leg got a little fatigued, so just pause in Tadasana to balance out the load in the feet. And slowly take your weight, your load over to your right leg. And as that becomes weight bearing fully on the right side, allow your left leg to be free and lift it up. Just keep a nice steadiness in the standing leg. And when you're ready, you can find your way to give yourself a nice thigh stretch here. And just pause there. So one hand can be on the wall or the chair. And just pause. These muscles that attach right at the pant leg crease here. You give them the opportunity just by pausing in the pose to get a little bit more length. All the connective tissue in the area of the hip just gets a little bit more hydrated, a little bit more opening. So it's no longer standing in the way, this tightness that many of us have in our quads. Just if you'd like to go to a deeper pose, of course, feel free to just guide yourself just a little bit deeper. But the point is to just continue to work this nice thigh stretch and breathe in and breathe out really fully. And as you're ready, you can come out of the pose to utkatasana, where both feet are very firmly planted. You pause, you receive the breath, and as you're ready, come back to your mat. Let's do one more nice wide leg standing pose. And as you step wide, turn your right toes out, come to utthita trikonasana. We haven't done very much with the stretching of the backside of the legs, so you don't want to go too deep in this pose. But see, as you lift your arms up and get this nice engagement all the way from the toes to the pelvis and from the fingertips all the way to the pelvis, keep that engagement as you draw over to the side. And as you do, keep your back leg really strong. Keep the feet hugging in toward one another. Look down toward your front right foot. And as you do, just keep your gaze down or keep your head turning down toward your foot, but start to lift your gaze. So your head's still turning down, your gaze is starting to lift up. And now turn your head to follow your gaze. Usually you can just get a little bit more fullness in the twist of the neck when you work the gaze in that way. Keep your back leg really strong as you root down to rise up. Come to the opposite side here. As you turn your left toes out, first get this nice engagement. Keep that as you come to your full pose. You can take your hand to the block, to the shin, to the floor. But see if you can keep this nice elongation. Now look down toward the floor. So your head turns, your gaze is there. Keep your head looking toward the direction of the floor, but turn your gaze of the eyes. Keep on turning the gaze of the eyes. Now you can turn the head. And again, you should be able to go a little bit deeper if you did follow that method. Keep your back leg strong. From the strong rootedness of the back leg, draw down to inhale and lift yourself up out of the pose. And exhale, release your hands. Let's just pause to come to a seated position with your knees bent. Just draw your right knee in toward your chest and just give it a nice hug there. Keep your left foot on the earth. Draw the right knee in. Just slide the left heel so that the leg becomes straight as you keep the knee drawing in. Engage your right toes as well. And very slowly bend your knee to plant your foot and release your right leg down to do the same with the left. Just hug the thigh in. Draw it in pretty deeply. Notice the difference. And as you're ready, you can let the right heel slide down. You start to shift your practice just a little bit when you find these idiosyncratic aspects of one side compared to another. You can bend your right knee and release your left foot to the earth. Grab your strap now. We did a few hamstring stretches. We'll do a little bit more now. So as you grab your strap, take it around your right foot and press the strap right to the base of the toes. Lift your right foot up. Extend your left leg nice and straight. Now pause. If you find that with the leg straight, you just can't go very far, then bend the knee by all means and press your left foot down. And as you hold onto the strap with the hands going pretty wide apart so that you get the shoulder blades to settle in, spread your toes, lift your heel up, maybe even straighten your bottom leg again if that feels right to you. This, as you continue to just take your attention to the back side of the right leg, see how full and bright you can make the breath. Just going to stay with this fullness. Just pause here. You might feel that that backside is lifting up, and if that's the case, maybe just bending the knee and placing the foot makes more sense to you. But if you can, urge the inner left thigh to come down as you keep your right leg lifted, by all means, come to that variation. Take 3 more breaths here in this pose where you're just pausing to stretch the back side of the leg. Of course, if you don't have straps, you can just interlace your fingers behind the back of the thigh. One more cycle of the breath. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. All right, release your leg and just pause here with both legs on the earth and just see if you can tell the difference on the side that you stretch, the right leg compared to the left. Before we take the left leg up in the strap, bend your right knee to start in a way that just allows the pelvis to be very rooted. So with the right foot pressing, the left heel lifting, with the hands pretty wide on your strap, spread your toes to engage the leg muscles more fully. You can draw the toes a little bit closer to your face. You can extend the bottom leg if you wish. You might have to back off in the stretch just to get the inner thigh to draw down on the right leg. But this is a pose where you just have to just kind of stay in the pose for a while to get the benefit. So as you lengthen the back side of the leg, work to strengthen the front side of the leg. So how do you do that? You do that through the spread of the toes and through pulling the kneecap up toward the pelvis, or in this case, down toward the pelvis. You're really getting this feeling like the kneecap is drawing very fully to engage the quadricep muscles. So in this practice, we did a nice quad stretch, and now we're engaging the quad while we're stretching the hamstrings. But it takes both. Really have to complement these hamstring stretches with a tightness in the quad, a strengthening in the quad muscle. Take 3 more breaths here in this pose, just holding on. Maybe you can guide your toes a little bit more deeply into the engagement. It's with the exhale breath that you might be able to stretch just a little bit more. And you can slowly take your foot down, bend both knees, place your feet in padangustasana with your feet pressing in toward one another. Hug in toward the feet. And now let your right leg just come over to meet your left leg. So you're just kind of drawing over like a clamshell. Take your arms out in a T position and open up nicely. Come back to padangustasana with your feet pressing in, the knees nice and wide apart. Lift your knees up toward each other, the strong engagement. Draw them away from each other. Again, this opening and closing action here. Again, 2 more times. Inhale, hug them in, but go slow so that you can work your inner thigh muscles. And expand out. Go so slow. Inhale with this nice engagement of the inner thigh muscles. Hug in. Exhale, go slow and reach out. Now pull your left knee in to meet the right. Keep the right where it is as you come to this twisting action, and the left knee comes to meet the right. Just stay in your twist. Get a nice length here in the pose. And now open your knees up, padangustasana again. Press your feet very firmly. Inhale, pull the knees in so slowly toward each other. And notice if you've lost your lumbar curve, see if you can keep the engagement of the legs and the engagement of your back muscles as you reach your knees far away from each other. Pull the knees in toward each other really slowly with great definition, with great engagement, and reach your knees away from each other. Keep a strong isometric action. We'll do this one more time. Inhale, pull the feet in as you lift the knees in toward one another. Exhale, reach your knees wide and apart. Inhale, lift your knees up. Lift your feet up as well. Take your hands right to your kneecaps. Press your kneecaps with the palms of your hands as if you're just trying to press your whole thigh bone back to the earth there. With the knees drawing away from your chest, you get more curve, even as the hands are doing their job to press the thigh bones down. You get the strong engagement of the lumbar spine. Activate your feet by spreading your toes. Keep all of that active as you release your hands from your knees and extend your legs out. And just pause here in Shavasana. Receive the in breath and the out breath. Let the breath be a pathway for you. Create a pathway. Your arms and your legs feel like they're just completely supported. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. Breathe in deep and breathe out long. Continue to enjoy this restorative time in Shavasana. Namaste.